Hi, and welcome to this micro lecture on talking about retail channels. Sometimes they're called selling channels, but think of it as typically the last channel before the consumer, and so it's where the consumer shops. And for consumer products, such as the one we're doing for our project, um, it, retail channels are a very important consideration in what and when you think about how you're going to get your products distributed. One thing to keep in mind about retailers, they've been gaining power and momentum over the past 10 to 20 years, and there's no question about that. Interestingly enough, they're we think about how large Walmart's become and some of the other retailers, power retailers that are out there. They've become so large that have a huge influence on the consumer marketplace. So, as an example, I'll never forget talking to a guy who was the CEO of a company that was uh, in a lot of different businesses, but one of them was in the distillery business. And Walmart had they basically manufacture all the major brands of liquor and spirits. Um, Bottom line is Walmart was always hesitant from a kind of a moral standpoint. They didn't really want to sell hard liquor. It was kind of hard for them to even sell beer. So, and Walmart is a family-run company, so it may be a massive, important corporation, but it's still controlled by the Walton family. But the long story short is they did not really want to do it, but then they decided, to kind of relax their thinking and maybe try to do a test. So they tested it in a very limited number of stores across the country. And this guy told me that Walmart became the third largest customer on a test basis. This is well short of what they're capable of selling regularly. So it's just amazing how large they've become. So there's no question that retailers are becoming much larger. We There's lots of ways to classify retailers, but we think of them as and the concept of having being a full service retailer, meaning there's a lot of additional services attached to the sale of the products. Nordstrom's is a good example of that. We think about limited service or self service, and that is we think of the model as like a Walmart or something like that. Um, and then they're also defined by the product assortment. So a specialty retailer carries a lot of depth, meaning lots of choices, but not over as broad a number of product lines. Whereas a general merchandiser, it covers a lot of different product lines, but maybe not as quite as much depth uh, in terms of the assortment. So there's lots of ways of qualifying them, obviously, or classifying them, I should say, but that's what we do. We think about retailing operations as being important, and they really truly are. One of the reasons Walmart has become as large as they have is because they were very innovative in their use of technology, and they're also innovative in their use of logistics advancements. So they tied up less money in inventory and more money into the actual selling of the product. So they really kind of reinvented retailing. So and those challenges are going to continue into the future because of all the advancements in logistics and technology that are coming along that are absolutely creating opportunities for the more innovative retailers and are quite frankly a major threat to the less innovative and less efficient retailers. Um, Store, if we're talking about retail stores, the location is such a critical factor in it. It's amazing the amount of time and effort that retailers put into determining where they even want to start looking for store locations. All the factors that go into it. It's amazing the amount of work that they put into that, and quite data driven analysis is just incredible. So as retailers look at how they can grow, they have to think about what they can do. A lot of times retailers try to provide additional services. that add more value and create. And in some cases, they actually charge for those services, so it's a good additional revenue source. Um, they can target additional segments. They can open up different types of stores. Um, a lot of clothing retailers that were being women's clothing retailers that were geared towards you know more mature professional women. If they, when they wanted to get into another line to sell to younger women, they had to completely rebrand and open up new stores and just do the whole thing. So that's one way to go about growing. Um, Opening multiple stores, obviously, rapid retail growth is not the kind of thing that's going on today. But doesn't mean that there aren't retailers out there that are still growing at a pretty rapid rate. Um, and of course, a lot of retailers are expanding internationally. Walmart famously, it was interesting when they went to go to sell in Germany, realized they were very limited in terms of the options because there were some serious restrictions on non-domestic retailers having a presence in the German market. So they actually had to partner with extensively with one of the existing retailers there. Anyway, so those are different ways that they can grow. Uh, Something that's also growing in popularity is franchising. We all know about franchising. We think about it in a lot of different formats. A lot of times we think of it in terms of um, like fast food and things like that. And certainly, most fast food companies have a strong franchising element with it. But there's other types of franchise operations out there as well. So basically, what it comes down to is the people that run the retail stores are independent operators, yet they have a strong agreement with the franchisor who has some pretty specific rules and restrictions on how they go about doing things. But the advantage is the franchisee or the retail store owner has some strong marketing power behind them. They have some operational experience. They have somebody to help guide them through and be successful. So it's kind of a win-win situation when it works well. There's lots of different types of franchises out there. We talked about automotive dealerships as being franchises of the manufacturers. Uh, uh, Coca-Cola bottlers are actually franchises as well. So Coca-Cola does not do their own bottling, um, but they have strong franchise agreements with um, other businesses to do that. So there's lots of different types of franchises that are out there. With lots of different kinds of restrictions, but it allows a company to expand their operations pretty rapidly while sharing some of the risk with their franchisees. We all know about the growth of e-commerce. I always like this slide because I show this to other types of in other types of classes. E-commerce, surprisingly to a lot of people, is still not the dominant way that people buy retail products. The as a percentage of total retail sales, it's gone just above 20%. Now, with the exception being, and the growth has been pretty much way ahead of what retail store growth is, which is not too surprising. But I just show this because it shows the effect of COVID and what it did, how much it actually increased the sales of e-commerce for a 2-3 year period of time when we couldn't go to stores were closed, all those other things. That's hard to remember at this point, but it was just like that. And now, but most of that growth was kept, and and people are continuing to buy more and more online. So I guess there's no surprises there, but it's kind of interesting to see how it's actually going. Catalogs have really fallen off in popularity, largely replaced by e-commerce, but there are still successful catalogers out there, and mostly in the B2B arena, the business to business. So the Staples and the Office Depots of the world still have catalogs that they use. Um, So anyway, those are all. That's another way that we can go about selling. We can also sell through a direct sales force. This is typically done with um, is not I should say is not typically done with consumer products, but sometimes it is still. It's definitely done in B2B and some others segments, but sales forces are still out there. Professional selling is still an important aspect of in certain industries for getting products sold. Um, it's and it's just kind of interesting to see how it's changed and shifted, but having said that, it's still a viable alternative to sell certain types of products. Um, and as we know, a lot of times sales jobs are compensated by performance, which is could be a straight commission, meaning a percentage of what they sell, or it could be a combination of a salary plus bonuses and things like that. But in any case, it's a really performance oriented type of way to make a living. So that kind of summarizes our brief overview of the retail and beyond channels. We're going to move on to our final of the four P's, that is promotion, next week. But right now uh, we're basically gotten through three out of the four P's here, and we're going to talk about how that integrates into our milestones for this week. Okay. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. And best of luck.